Greetings and welcome to the Halloween edition of the Sliders Review. Alright, let's address the elephant in the room. I know it's not Halloween. Alright, that's long past. But when it came to my Halloween videos, I ran out of time and I couldn't upload everything I wanted to. So that's why I'm uploading them past Halloween. But if you stop and look at it like this, at some point in time, it's gonna be Halloween time again, October. So somebody eventually will stumble upon my videos and watch it around Halloween time. So yeah, and I'm here today to talk to you about Scream, the television series, season 3, episode 4, Ports in the Storm. Scream, the television series, also season 3, is also called Scream Resurrection. It was a reboot of the television series that was a reboot of, like, the movies and stuff. And when it comes to the television show, I briefly talked about the television show. I reviewed the first episode of the first season. Go watch that. And I particularly don't really like the television show all that much. All 3 seasons are just kind of But season 1, for the most part, is a little bit more interesting, a little bit more solid. I actually started with season 2 first, and there's some things in the show I like, some things I don't. Season 2 has some interesting things, but the problem is the story just kept they reinvented like the whole Ghostface thing called Brandon James, a different like mask and costume, and because they had to, because they didn't have the rights for some reason. It was on MTV, and so the show is just like a mixed bag. It's not particularly well received and stuff. But the whole Brandon James connection was really interesting that it was building up. When that basically, but then by season 2, people started realizing that none of the main cast are dying except for the recurring cast, and those are people of color. And what's the point if like the entire cast is over like 12 cast members long and nobody's dying? So people started getting irritated by that. Then they had like a Halloween special, like a movie type thing that was supposed to explain a lot of stuff about who the killer really was and stuff like that in the second season. And they never really did. And so people got more pissed off to where they lost interest. And so they had to reboot the television show, and it went on to VH1 from MTV. Queen Latifah took over as like producer and stuff. In the third season was starting to look more promising. The cast was more diverse, very diverse, more than it's ever been. It was going to be 6 episodes, so a shorter season. I mean, they could focus more on the actual story, but with those 6 episodes, they just squandered an entire season. And Ghostface actually returned, and the voice of Ghostface finally returned because they got the rights back and stuff from like the movies. And so it was looking promising, and then some of the cast was starting to be promising, like some people names I recognized and stuff. Keke Palmer from True Jackson. I was like excited to see her and everything. But her character, I do not like, 'cause her character is super preachy and everything. And then I started to realize something. Keke Palmer really only has one way of like acting, you know? It's always like the same thing, like over and over. But then I was also happy to see Roger L. Jackson, like I said, return as Ghostface and stuff. Tony Todd was a hook man in the series, but he only lasted for like 1 episode, and barely 1 episode. I'm trying to see Mary J. Blige, which I didn't even know she acts and stuff like that, but she's starting to do a little bit acting here and there. She plays Dion's like, mother and stuff. And like, geez, I'm trying to think of some of these other people's names. Like, yeah, RJ Seiler. He was Billy in the Power Rangers movie from 2017 that flopped. So I was happy to see him. And somebody else in here I was happy to see. Oh God, what's her name? Ooh, I do not know how to pronounce her name. G Goria? Oh, Wigham? Well, I don't know how in the world you say her name, but she was Beth, and I've seen her in Punisher season 2 and a few episodes of The Orville. Everybody else I didn't know, but then I saw Tyga was in there, Kylie Jenner's baby daddy. And I'm all like, why? He's a rapper. Rappers can't act. And he can't. But he does a pretty good job, but he's just playing himself. But that's not acting. And, so like everybody else I just didn't know, but I was happy and excited for it until I actually watched the season. And the season is probably the worst out of all, like, the other two seasons. The other two seasons ain't much, but they had a better story and stuff. Even the twist in this season isn't very good. Now, I'm not here to do no rundown review. I'm just here to talk about this episode because out of all like the episodes, the fourth episode is actually my favorite, but not by much. Because it's a very disappointing season. It's so disappointing. The show got canceled and they never told nobody it got canceled. They just quietly canceled the show. And people was wondering, hey, is it canceled? Is it renewed? Like, what's going on? But it was canceled indefinitely, and they didn't even let nobody know and stuff. But basically, what happens is that in the third episode, the actual Halloween episode, Manny dies by Ghostface, and Kim is really upset. Kim is played by Keke Palmer, and like that was like her best friend in the whole wide world. He was gay, and if you call him her gay best friend, she will shout at you and talking about the gay is silent, is just best friend. Her character is beyond preachy in this show. It's hard to get like invested in like her character and stuff. Like I'm all about social issues and like people being respected and all this, but they went over like a hill with her character to where it just became annoying. She's like an extremely preachy advocate and everything for like everything. It just kind of like tones you down because I'm a supporter and advocate for like diversity and people of color and like LGBT and stuff like that. But she just was annoying as this and just got on my nerves. So she's literally just like in love with him, but like as a friend thing. And she's upset because her when the funeral was she was at the funeral, she's upset at his family. I think it's been a good while since I saw this. I think her family didn't really approve of him that much, but she was mad and dictating everything. Like she didn't like the music they was playing, talking about Manny don't listen to this type of music. Then the outfit they picked out on for him, they're like Manny would never wear that, and can't we get some different kind of food that Manny likes and blah 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 blah. And, like she is literally dictating his family's funeral for their son, and it just got like super more annoying. But Kim received some flowers with a note from Ghostface. Now these flowers were sent before by Ghostface. No, they wasn't. Yeah, Ghostface sent her flowers and a note. And the note talking about, y'all get to pick and vote which person gets to like die and snitches die. Now, Ghostface in this season is not really interesting. Ghostface doesn't really talk like Ghostface. Ghostface doesn't really act like Ghostface. Ghostface mannerisms doesn't act like Ghostface. It just feels like you can tell this is set in like a completely different universe or something like that, where Ghostface doesn't even like tilt his head the way Ghostface does and creeps up on people the way he does. And it's just completely different. And I was very disappointed because I was happy to see Ghostface back. And so Dion, played by Ray, he's all like, look, none of us is gonna die if nobody puts their name on the list and stuff. And so like he is really upset and he asked his stepbrother for like a gun that's played by Tyga's character. And because his character is like a gangster, so go figure. Stuff. And it's like, I'm just like, I'm so tired of putting singers and rappers in like shows, man. And athletes, I can't stand it. Like get real actors and actresses and stuff. But like I said, he did a pretty good convincing job. It's just he acted like himself. And so, he gives him a gun and stuff. Then he heads over to Liv's house. Liv is like his love interest and stuff. Now, in this entire season, they really, really convince you and really want you to think that Liv could possibly be Ghostface and stuff. The other characters don't like Liv. During the funeral, she reveals she's the one who stranded Manny and Kim out in that field where they got harassed by a bunch of like rednecks and stuff. And Kim was furious and wants to fight Liv. She's all like, look, I just did it for like y'all protection. If y'all was far, far away from like the city, then Ghostface like, couldn't get y'all and stuff. So nobody wants to believe Liv. Basically, when Dion goes over to Liv's place, and they're there to talk about like, situations that they're in and stuff like that. But she seduces him and bangs him and everything. They're clickety-clacking it. Well, at this point in time, Kim is still grieving over Manny. She goes to like the rooftop of like the school and, lights some candles, has a drink, and then she sees one of Dion's football players. Now, this football player he's pissed at Dion because Dion's been missing some practices. When they were supposed to practice and everything, Ghostface showed up and Dion chased them, but Ghostface got away. But it turns out that football player was secretly like banging Manny and stuff like that, and Kim didn't even know that. And so like also while this is going on, Amir, he goes and visit Beth at her place because he's scared and he's all like, it's best to like buddy up against like, Ghostface. Also, he has a crush on her and he made her some kind of like mixtape and stuff like that. Or actually he made it for himself and she likes it or whatever. Beth is a very weird character. Like when he sees her, he doesn't recognize her because she's dressed down. Why? Because she normally dresses very, very, very goth punk rocker. And they go the extreme route with her when they make her look goth and punk rocker and stuff. There are like piercings everywhere. And so she's more of the horror fanatic. She loves horror movies. She's like the Randy of like, the show and stuff. And so she's telling Amir like, if I was Ghostface, I would do this, this, and that to make somebody vulnerable and stab them when they're not looking and stuff. And so she starts to bring up Liv and how Liv is playing on Dion's emotions. Talking about like, he's vulnerable at this time, and when he least expected, she's gonna clickety-clack him and everything. And so then, Amir starts to like confess, like he has a crush on her and stuff like that, which really takes her by surprise. And she's all like, you don't need me and everything. I could probably get you killed or something like that, because Ghostface would probably like come after us or something like that. And he doesn't care. They make out, and then, but here's the thing. When Dion is like sleep in like, Liv's room, he wakes up. She's taking a shower. He hears a phone ring and being nosy, he like, goes and checks on it. But before, when he was sleeping, Liv had his gun and stuff. So anyway, when he goes into her dresser drawer, he finds the receipt for the flowers that Ghostface sent from the same place. So he's a little creeped out. And also there's like, a phone, a burner phone. And so he wants to know like, what's going on? Like, are you Ghostface and everything? She's like, no, and blah, blah, blah. But why do you have a gun? And blah, 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 blah. And so, she calls her dad in. Now her dad's a cop. Now when I saw her dad, I was very surprised and shocked. Liv is black. Her dad is white. Oh, she's mixed. I didn't know that. So I'm just kind of like, okay, this has to make sense, because one thing about woke culture nowadays and how diverse it is, like you'll see a show and you'll see like a person of color have like white parents, and that don't never make no sense. But then they explain how that normally is, like with Van Housing and stuff. There was like a Hispanic and a black girl and their sister somehow, and their mom is white and their dad is white. And it's kind of like, huh? But then they're not adopted. It's biological, but they explain how it is and stuff. And basically they just took the white lady's eggs and put them in like people of color, and the dude banged them and boom, out came babies and stuff. So like her dad arrests him and takes him out to the forest. He thinks he's about to get a bullet in the head, but the dad's all like, "Look, I need to protect you from my daughter." And he's like, "Well, what you talking about, man?" So it makes you really think, okay, is she Ghostface or not? And he tells Dion that my daughter's been in and out of mental wards and stuff. She's very mentally unstable, and it's kind of like, wait, what? And so like next thing you know, there's like a noise or something outside. So the cop dad goes to investigate, and boom, what happens? He gets stabbed. Here comes Ghostface. Ghostface busts through the window. He stabs at Dion, but then Dion wakes up and Ghostface is gone. Why did Ghostface let him live? And it turns out somebody texts Ghostface the name of Dion. But why did Ghostface let him live for? That don't make no sense. So then that really starts to make you wonder, is Liv, could she possibly be Ghostface? Because she likes Dion and she let him live and this and that. But why would she call her dad in and all this other crap? She claims it was to protect him from Ghostface if Dion is locked up behind bars. Liv has a weird way of thinking. And then we find out who texted Ghostface. It was Amir. He tells that to what's her name? He tells that to Beth. And Beth's like, why would you do that for? He's all like, cuz, like, I want to live. But then she tells him, well, remember what Ghostface said, snitches dies. I mean, he's coming after you. And that's what the whole thing. It wasn't to kill who got voted. It was to kill who's a snitch. So Amir is now the target. And so Dion already hightailed it out the woods and everything with blood on his shirt. And so he is hightailing it. And next thing you know, Ghostface shows up at Beth's place. Now Beth lives at her dad's an undertaker, and they have like one of those undertaker mortuary type houses. So in comes Ghostface, and so they're running scared, and he tells Beth, to run, and I'll divert him someplace else. Ghostface literally jumps through the window and just busts through. And I'm like, that's a very cool way to come through a house, but it's very unlike Ghostface. Ghostface just acts so different and stuff. And so Ghostface is chasing, not throwing my thing. Ghostface is chasing Amir, and then at some point Amir closes the door and locks it. It has a little gap between the doors. Ghostface decides not to use the buck knife, which is something that bugs me about Ghostface in here. Sometimes Ghostface uses different weapons. And he takes a giant saw and he just slices through Amir's chest. And then he twists the saw, and then the door is open, and it literally runs the saw through Amir's entire body, cutting him in half down below. It's cool, it's gruesome, but I prefer the buck knife. It's just his trademark thing, So anyways, Dion shows up at Beth's place because he figures, I don't know why. I forget why. It's been a while since I saw this. And so everybody's showing up at Beth's place, but they can't find Beth. And then they find Beth. She's all like, I was next door to that neighbor calling 911. What happened? And they all like, Ghostface got Amir and stuff like that. So she's heartbroken because she started to like him and everything. But then they still starting to suspect Liv and talking about, she called her dad on me and I almost got arrested and blah, blah. But Ghostface came after her dad. And then so they talked to the cop. And the cop, he's all like, how did you know that? Because the reason why Dion split is because Ghostface alerted the police that the captain had got shot. And so, the sheriff. And so they're all like, that wasn't public knowledge, so how do you know that? Lift up your shirt. And of course they see the blood and everything. And then they arrest Dion and everything. So yeah, Ghostface set up Dion to get arrested, but it's still gonna protect him from that of Ghostface. Liv is still a big question. Now I know who Ghostface is because I've seen this season many years ago. Like I said before, it's not a great episode, but it's all right. It's pretty solid, and it's probably the best episode out of the entire season of 6 episodes. That's sad to say. That wasn't that spooky. Alright, well, I shall talk to y'all later. Bye.